on the koto and the shamisen or sangen, we have Madam Kazuko Muramoto, who has been playing, teaching for 50 years, right? Yeah. Or whatever. Probably playing longer than that. She has the highest degree in her school outside of Japan. So you're in for a treat. Also, we have, for the first time, Michael Connolly, who is very, very good shakuhachi player. He took lessons from, what was his name? Yamaguchi Goro, who was, I think, a national treasure for NC. And somebody else.
Hajima Tadashi. These are all Japanese teachers in Japan.
In Japan. He was over, what, 8 years taking lessons? Right. First of all, I'd like to introduce the instrument over here, the long one. It's called koto, K-O-T-O. And it came to Japan from China with the what they call gagaku, which is the imperial court music, which is said to be the oldest orchestral form in the world. That was around the 7th century. And at that time, this instrument was not what you see here, but it was a 6-string instrument. This over here is 13-string. And it is said that the shape of the instrument came from the site of a sleeping dragon. Consequently, parts of the instrument are named after the dragon. As an example, at the far end is the dragon's head, and there's an indentation on the side of the instrument, which is the mouth of the dragon. That indentation on the side is the mouth of the dragon. This is the body of the dragon, and this is the tail of the dragon. And on the bottom here, you see little ornamentation here, and these are the legs of the dragon. The instrument originally had silk strings, but silk is not very strong. It used to break a lot, and now they use a synthetic material called Tektron. Each string has its own bridge, so you could change the tuning for each string. And as many times you'll see them changing the tuning right in the middle of their playing, while they're playing. The bridges originally were made of ivory, but since, I don't know if these are ivory. Since ivory now is an endangered material, they use plastic. Same with the picks that she has on her fingers.
The picks we use, you have to use ivory.
You have to use ivory for that, yeah. And she plays plucks a string with 3 picks, one on the thumb, one on her forefinger, and one on her middle finger. She can also pluck it with her bare fingers, and she could either pluck with her right hand or left hand. The first number that we're going to demonstrate here on this koto is called Kosame no Yoru, or Rainy Night, and it's composed by her teacher, Chikushi. neglected to mention the fact that she can press down on the string on this side of the bridge, which will raise the pitch of the note slightly. The next instrument that we're going to demonstrate is the shakuhachi. It's a long name for a small instrument, but it's a bamboo flute, and it's emblem. This also came to Japan from China around the 7th and 8th century. It went through several changes. This is what you see now as the modern shakuhachi. It has 4 holes in the front and 1 hole in the back. And you can see where the bamboo was cut right at this root line. Also, it has a little mouthpiece, you might call it, which is made out of bull's horn. And we blow into that to get the sound. And one thing about, because it only has 5 holes, in order to get all the notes, we have to 1/3 open the hole, or 2/3 open the hole, or 1/2 open the hole. And also, you could change the pitch by changing the angle of the instrument to the person's head. You want to show them? Good. Okay, and this instrument, like I said before, it came to Japan from China, and it came with the same orchestral thing, but it, I think, died out from the gagaku music because it has such soft tone, and it's probably hard to hear compared to some of the other instruments. The song that Mr. Connolly is going to play is called Shika no Kone, or Distant Cry of the Deer, and this is a sample of this is a famous music of this genre. It's called Honkyoku, or the main or real sound music.
I should say that, I don't know if you introduced yourself, but he's a fine shakuhachi player himself and has been teaching for 40 years or something. So, so he knows a lot about shakuhachi. Can I say a couple, I'll say a couple things and then I'll play the Shika no Tone piece. But besides the range of the instrument, I'll just show you. So about 2.5 to 3 octaves you can sometimes get. But you can change the pitch. The lips are really important, so you have to change the pitch by pressure, tightness of your lips. So I cannot move anything else but my lips. I can also change the pitch also. Just by lips. Then there's all the things about the fingering that he said, and and the breath is really important too, besides the lips. So there's lots of breath sound that you can get, and that's part of the traditional music. So you'll hear a lot of that. I'm just going to play part of this song because we don't have a lot of time. The whole song is like 8 or 9 minutes, so I'll just give you the flavor of it. One last thing, I guess, about this listening for the sound is it's not just the sound, it's also kind of a tactile instrument. So you hear these kind of sounds, and traditionally that's part of the softness of it. You kind of listen like. So there's some that kind of sound happening. And then lastly, I'll say it's not a Western scale necessarily, so there's non-chromatic notes that are involved. So that like A flat is not non-chromatic notes. So that's intentional. Okay, keep going. That was about half of the piece. One thing I didn't mention too is that maybe most characteristic is you bend a lot of the notes. So you, and traditionally you don't just play a note after another note without kind of bending it. You don't just go. You go. And that's about the gist of the Shaggy.
One of the things countryside, emulating the sounds they heard in nature, and to help them in their meditation. And it doesn't have any kind of rhythm or anything like that. That's what you just heard.
Thank you. Yeah, no rhythm. Shika no tone means, oh, the distant cry of deer. Yeah, so it's supposed to emulate kind of deer sounds. There's various stories about that piece. It's usually two deer, usually making threatening sounds to each other and stuff.
The next instrument is generically it's called shamisen when it's played with different types of music. But when it's played in this setting, it's called sangen. It means the same thing. It means 3 strings or 3 sounds. And this instrument, oddly enough, did not come from China. It came from the Ryukyu Islands, or Okinawa as it's known today. And in this native form, the box was covered with snake skin. Consequently, they used to call this instrument jamisen, ja meaning snake. But now, since it came to Japan, they cover the sound box with a animal hide. Usually it's cat skin. Like I said, it has only 3 strings, and it doesn't have any frets. Frets are those little lines you see on guitars and things like that. So you have to be very careful or know exactly where you have to press down on the strings. This is a very versatile instrument, and in Japan, and it's used in folk music. It's used also in kabuki music. It's also used in bunraku. Kabuki is a dramatic play, and whereas bunraku is a puppet show. And they will manipulate puppets about 1/3 of the size of a human. And 3 people would normally manipulate the puppet. It's also used by geishas to entertain their clients, used in folk music. I guess that's about it. Now, Japanese music is divided into what they call the old music and new music. And the pieces that are played since the 20th century are called new music. Old music goes before that, and this is one of the samples of old music. It's called kurokami, or black hair, which in Japanese tradition signifies beauty. sample of new music. This was written, I think, at the early part of the 20th century. And it's called Haru no Umi, or Spring Sea. See, I spelled sea right.
I happen to have the program for the recital in Japan. There's pictures on it too.
Which program?
Osaka.
Osaka. Oh.
Big one.
This piece was written by a very famous composer named Miyagi Michio. Miyagi is the last name and Michio is his first name. And he sort of brought this type of music into the 20th century. He brought in a lot of Western ideas, which was never done before, waltz time into this type of music. He was blind at an early age, And this piece that he composed was his impression of the trip that he took to through Japan's inland sea, a very beautiful part of Japan. And he brings out the sound of the waves hitting the side of the boat, the birds chirping overhead, things like that. It's a very famous piece, and it's been recorded by several Western musicians on Western instruments, such as Jean-Paul Ronval on the flute, Western flute, and several people, I think Isaac Stern, I believe, was another one that recorded on the violin. Is there anything else that you add on?
Anything else to say? Well, Miyagi Michio, he's kind of the turning stone. He lived, probably born 1890s or something like that. And he, in the 1910s, and from then on until he died in the 50s, he wrote a lot of pieces for koto. He was a blind musician, but he had her teacher actually, I think, wrote down a lot of his music because he didn't do the writing part. And he's got ensemble pieces with drums and other Japanese instruments, and he's got a lot of just koto solo pieces. He wrote for the shakuhachi. I'm going to play a shorter version of the shakuhachi. It's one step up. The regular shakuhachi's bass note is D, this is E, and what else? The shakuhachi comes in various lengths, by the way, obviously. You can play, it depends on how far your finger can reach, because as it gets longer, the spaces get longer, but the actual name shakuhachi means 1.8 in Japanese. So it's a measurement. And so 3 shaku, which this is 1.6. 3 is about the maximum you can kind of reach. And you can get them down to like 1 shaku.
to come up and talk to the performers, look at the instruments, take a better look at it, and look at their music sheets, whatever. And thank you very much for being such a great audience.
Thank you very much. If you want to play a plastic shakuhachi, you're welcome to try it out. You'll find it's a little harder than it looks.
Nice to